Well, hello everybody and greetings from St. Louis, Missouri. And I thought this would be a great way to continue our Route 66 saga in a new state, in the Missouri, in the Show Me State, right here in front of the old courthouse, framed by the Gateway Arch. I mean, this doesn't get any more iconic than this here in St. Louis.
In this video, we're going to be driving Route 66 in Missouri, from St. Louis all the way to the Kansas state line. It's gonna be a long one, so sit back and get your kicks on the Mother Road. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV, yeah. Greetings from the DraftKings at Casino Queen RV Park in East St. Louis. Today, we're crossing the Mississippi into Missouri. And here we are at the Gateway Arch. And we've been here before, so we're not gonna do everything there is to do, like taking the tram to the top, for example. Not this time. I mean, we've even done the helicopter tour before.
Oh yeah, here we have it. The mighty Mississippi. We're leaving Illinois behind on that other side, and here we are now in Missouri, in St. Louis. And I doubt the camera is gonna be able to catch the whole thing, but that's the Gateway Arch. And yeah, the camera can't really convey the size of this giant arc behind me.
It is truly a remarkable structure. And St. Louis is a great city with lots of history.
All right, the exploration begins. By the way, we're about to walk under the arch here. Well, this is it. Here I am right now, standing exactly under the arch. And now we're gonna start exploring, walking west into Missouri. I don't recall whether I mentioned it or not, but we're not doing the arch today. In fact, we've done the arch twice already here on the channel. And first it was in 2016, and all this was under construction. It was a mess. And then we came back in 2022 for the Lewis and Clark saga. And of course, this is one of the main spots for that trip, where the trip actually began. So yeah, I'll put a link to those videos. And now we're just gonna walk around, see what we can see.
The building that looks like a Capitol building, that's the old courthouse. And those are the tiny windows where you can see the view from the top. This is the historic old courthouse, where Dred and Harriet Scott filed suit for their freedom. And their case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, which ruled that African Americans were not citizens of the United States. This was one of the sparks that eventually ignited the Civil War and the defining moment in the Civil Rights Movement. In 1857, they were finally able to get their freedom, but it was short-lived, as Dred died the following year. This here now is Keener Plaza, which was under construction when we came in 2016. It is one of my favorite views of the courthouse framed by the arch. This is one of my favorite views in St. Louis, with the courthouse framed by the arch. The rest of St. Louis is actually on a different video. Now let's skip ahead and begin at the beginning of Route 66 in Missouri, at the Chain of Rocks Bridge. Very appropriate since this is where we finished the Illinois section.
What a beautiful day today. And let me tell you, this is probably where we should have started the Missouri part of the adventure, because now we are on the other side of the Chain of Rocks Bridge, where we ended the Illinois part, but it doesn't matter, right? I'm doing it chronological, I'm doing it as we're doing it. By the way, this side of the river, a lot more developed. This is a very nice city park here, apparently. So Anyway, let's go to the bridge. And one of the reasons we came here today, this was not on the original plan because we did the chain of the bridge from the other side, the chain of rocks bridge from the other side. We saw somewhere on Google that there's a Route 66 sign here, so.
Here we have an interpretive sign about life on the river and the brand new old chain of rocks bridge sign.
And here we go. It's 1 mile to the Illinois shore.
The Missouri side here very well maintained.
Oh, here we go. Okay, that's why they have the bend in the middle to prevent boat captains from having to navigate the bridge, piers, and water intake towers at the same time. And then in 1936 is when it became part of Route 66. Cool. I think I see that Route 66 sign right before the bend that we missed it a couple of days ago, just before we just went to the bend.
Lots of pollen in the air.
And you know what I haven't seen this time around? Any traffic on the river. You know, usually you see all these huge barges going up and down.
What we can see for sure is a great view of the St. Louis skyline and the Gateway Arch, way out there, over 9 miles away.
Well, there it is. It looks like a couple of days ago we missed it by just a few hundred yards here. Free radio and TV. It's just like an old motel sign, and here we have these benches with the Route 66 sign on them. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm still gonna walk all the way to the bend just to do it, but yeah, this was really cool. It's missing a few letters here on this side, but it's an old sign. I'm gonna walk all the way to the bend, and that's it. We gotta put some miles behind us. It's 11 a.m. We had a late start today. Oh, here we are. This is that peculiar bend on the bridge. It's very unusual.
And I would imagine dangerous for traffic.
Is it my imagination or if there was another intake tower? Oh, it's here. Never mind. There, that's that other intake tower, and this is it. What a lovelock. Look at that. Now we're gonna go to a famous crossing, which is just a couple of miles downstream here.
All right, let's continue. There were a couple of things we wanted to see along the way here, like Mary Meacham Freedom Crossing, where she helped people escape slavery, and the McKinley Bridge, which was the original Route 66 bridge. But we've encountered several road closures, so we're going to continue towards downtown. We encountered a little bit of urban blight along the way, but now this view of the glistening Gateway Arch is just spectacular. There's supposed to be this place called Mural Mile, with all these murals by the river, some of them graffiti, but I'd like to see it. It certainly looks like this area has seen better days. I wonder how you get there, how you get to the river. Yeah, nope, this is not gonna work. Had I come with Starship, sure, no problem. But I don't want to put Pelicruiser through this sketchy terrain. Yeah, let's get out of here. I'm not even gonna look for Route 66 in this area. Let's just take the interstate to our first Route 66 point of interest, which I've been reliably informed is delicious and not to be missed.
As you saw, seeing the murals, seeing the crossing was an epic fail. I decided to cheat and take I-44 in the spirit of brevity. And now we're gonna stop at our first Route 66 landmark as we leave St. Louis. And then we're gonna rejoin Route 66 here.
Here we are at the famous Ted Drew's frozen custard. Let's see if we can park with Pellicruiser. Yeah, I think I'm gonna back it in at the end right there. Oh yeah, this will work.
Yeah, a little bit of a tight fit here, but this is world famous Ted Drew's frozen custard.
We're gonna look at the menu, but we've been told a concrete is the thing to get here.
Well, they say you're supposed to be able to turn it upside down and it won't fall off, but I am not gonna try it. Let's sit it inside the RV and then I'll let you know how it is.
We decided to eat outside after all.
Oh, that is good. This is the Christie. Chocolate, caramel, brownie. We should have come at night to see the neon sign. Anyway, that was very delicious. Now let's stop at the gift shop, see what they have. Here we go, Route 66 roadside attraction. There is Ted Drew's.
It is like a gift shop / museum in here. Ooh, Route 66 Monopoly. Lots of photographs and memorabilia about the history of this St. Louis landmark. This is very cool. Old banner ads, I guess, and more memorabilia.
Maybe we should have parked on this side.
Next stops before leaving the metropolitan area: Lau Myers Sculpture Park and the National Museum of Transportation. I mean, there are other things to do in the area, but we must prioritize. And I want to do things mostly related or a very short side trip from Route 66, which is, in the end, the purpose of this trip. The Sculpture Park seems to be closed to the public today. Our luck.
The park is closed today, Friday, because they're setting up for an art fair. So, the things that happen on the road, added to the list of places that we skipped or couldn't visit for a future date.
Here we are at the National Museum of Transportation, which seems very appropriate given the general theme of our trip here, and it comes highly recommended.
Well, this is the National Museum of Transportation. It's about a 3-mile detour from Route 66. Let's see if it's worth it. Well, we haven't gone inside yet, but that's a very interesting looking locomotive right there. Check that out. Yeah, check this out.
It's the Chicago Rock Island Aerotrain from 1955. Here we have a few steam rollers from the 1920s used to build roads and airfields. Steam was actually a very fascinating technology, gradually replaced in the 20th century by the internal combustion engine. Here, this one is internal combustion. The F-18 Super Hornet, Maverick's airplane. There are several sections here. We're going to begin at the Orthwine Center, an 1870s mule car, a 1929 Ford Model A Huckster wagon which was a name for custom-built bodies like this one. This one built by a carpenter. And here's a 1934 tandem bike. That's what we need. I remember hearing about the Hyperloop a few years back. Whatever happened to it? Somehow I remember this being an Elon Musk thing. I guess other companies are also trying to develop it. Virgin Hyperloop, however, has since gone out of business. It's really cool technology, if it ever comes to fruition. Meanwhile, here we have a miniature Ringling Brothers model train. Here's a 1928 Ford Model A Sports Coupe, beautifully preserved. I can imagine seeing one of these on the narrow alignment of Route 66 on its way to California. A wood wheel bike, well, that's different. I love seeing all these 1920s vehicles, so appropriate in the context of our Route 66 trip. The Stagecoach passenger car. This is the earliest known American passenger railroad car from the 1830s. This is the only one in existence today.
Yeah, this is that narrow gauge track.
Yeah, the coolest stuff is supposed to be up there. Apparently that was just a taste to whet our appetite.
Let's step into the automobile center.
They are supposed to have some pretty unique cars here, like this 1960 handmade Didia. It would cost about $150,000 to build, about $1.5 million in today's dollars. The sparkling metallic paint has actual diamond powder in it. The 1957 Metropolitan, manufactured in England and considered the first subcompact car. The 1980 electric commuter car with a range of 40 miles. And the Bradley from 1980 also. This one could do 100 city miles before recharging. That's a lot of lead-acid power right there. A 1951 Studebaker. These are pretty unique, with the bullet nose. A very distinctive look. So many unique vehicles here. I know we have many more automobile museums coming up on Route 66, but I'm pretty sure this one is going to be hard to top. Check it out, a solar car. Well, it may be impractical in the present day. Wouldn't it be cool? Now here's my favorite, the legendary and iconic 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air. Here's the convertible, and here we have the regular hardtop four-door sports sedan. I think this is one of the most beautiful vehicles ever made. Some of them even came with automatic turboglide transmission and air conditioning. How far we've come. The Pontiac Fiero. I remembered that one from high school. Not that I owned one, but it was considered a cool car. A 1917 Indian motorcycle. Not very familiar with that one. And here's a 1960s Corvette, 1965 to be exact. Here's the very unique Chrysler Turbine, which never passed the experimental stage, and all but 9 were destroyed. They were powered by a turbine engine that could run on pretty much any flammable liquid, and required less maintenance and lasted longer than a piston engine. But they were expensive to produce, complicated to start, didn't have so great acceleration, and were noisy, polluting gas guzzlers. Cool concept that proved to be impractical. Of course, you have to have at least one Route 66 sign.
Very cool museum, very unique vehicles in there. Now let's go to the rail yard.
Here they have a cafeteria at what would have been the Barrett Station Depot, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a good time in this area.
Yeah, a reefer car.
Look at all these locomotives. This one is pretty massive.
I don't know if you can get a sense of scale with me standing here in front of it, but yeah, it's 3 times my height.
I'm not sure exactly how all this works, but I find all these huge machines fascinating. Number 551 from 1928.
I think we still see those pulling trains once in a while, but this...
Oh, it is a switch engine built in 1937, much older than I thought. Let's check out this Monsanto tank car from 1940.
Let's see what it looks like up here.
This one, we can actually step inside. This is so cool. This one was built to transport concentrated nitric acid. Pretty corrosive stuff. It was in use for about 20 years before it was retired and refurbished to be on display here at the museum.
I guess we can walk all the way to the end of this train.
This is the caboose.
Oh, caboose cupola. And this one is refrigerator. I guess those are the breakers there. Very cool caboose here. Let's see the last one here at the end.
Let's step outside. Here's an experimental gas turbine locomotive developed for the US Army, built in 1952. Let me tell you, this is definitely an all-day museum. We only allocated a fraction of that time, so I'm going to be rushing through some of these, unfortunately. We do have a reservation at a campground today, and it's Friday, so I also have a live stream. I'm still gonna go inside some of these whenever possible to see what it looks like. Can you imagine being the engineer in one of these?
This is very cool to be able to stand here at the, what do you call it, the cockpit of a train, the locomotive. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start heading out just because we have a live stream in 2 hours and I want to make it to Meramec Caverns before then. I'm gonna check that out real quick up there and then we have to go. Yeah, I had no idea the museum was going to be this big, so yeah, I may not have time to finish it, but we'll see as much as possible. Yeah, that locomotive seems pretty unique. Let's see what the sign says. Yeah, unique for sure.
I think we saw something similar in Alaska, on the side of the tracks when we took that hurricane turn train ride. It is called a rotary snowplow. Wow, this one is just massive. Take a look at that.
Yeah, for sure, like at least a 2-story building.
There's a young mother and her small child just hanging out here, so I'm going to revisit this on the way out.
That's the locomotive we were just in, the big boy.
Let's see the rest of the museum, but really quick.
check this one out real quick. Milk agitator motor, huh?
That's it. That's the agitator. Here at the end, there's a historic tunnel and this is it. We're pretty much out of time. I'm just gonna go back to the big boy.
And no way to really film the tunnel properly. The sun's right in our eyes. Anyway, it's a historic tunnel.
Let's revisit the big boy. Hopefully it is vacant right now. I just want to be able to look at every valve, every lever, every gauge, and imagine the complexity of operating one of these. And admire one more time the sheer size.
Yeah, this is the big boy.
The big boy here from 1941 is considered the largest successful steam locomotives ever built, designed to haul heavy freight trains through the Rocky Mountains with a top speed of 80 miles per hour. This was the last of the great steam locomotives. By the 1960s, these were all replaced by diesel electric. Actually, Union Pacific still has one that is operational. They returned it to working condition for the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad. I saw it on YouTube recently, a Jay Leno video. Let's go inside so we can see it at leisure. Oh, look at that. So many valves and controls. Such complexity. Surprisingly, there are not too many gauges. Here we have the brakes, the throttle, reverse, and you may pause the video if you want to read some of these signs. Let's look inside the firebox.
Came back to this one because when I came here the first time, there was a young mother with her child and they were just hanging out here, taking over the place. And I wanted to just come in here and check out all these gauges and levers and stuff, I love it. It would have been so cool, to drive one of these. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with half of this stuff, but still. I guess that's what they call them, engineers, right? I think this is by far the coolest thing in the whole museum. Now we have to go. We really do have to go. Yeah, suffice to say, this museum, I would say, requires half a day. I haven't done it justice, but if you're into transportation equipment, in particular railroad stuff, it's a must. Well, oops, I did it again. It happened again. I underestimated how long it was gonna take for us to get to a certain point along the road. And this is a point that I really wanted to visit, so we're just gonna go out of order here. We're just gonna take I-44 for about an hour here, visit Meramec Caverns, and then tomorrow, after we visit the caverns and see that whatever there is to see there, we'll backtrack to more or less where we are and then do Route 66 properly. Yeah, we're gonna be going out of order here on this trip from time to time. It happened in Pontiac and now it happened in Meramec Caverns. By the way, world-class museum, very good. I loved it. Let's see which way is out.
It is not the first time and probably won't be the last time we go out of order here. But that's what happens when you underestimate the trip and make reservations ahead of time. But as long as we enjoy the route, it doesn't really matter how often we backtrack or zigzag or even pause. The idea is to see as much as possible and preferably do it in a reasonable amount of time. we're going to be staying at the Meramec Caverns campground, and tomorrow we'll see the caverns and backtrack. It is beautiful. Riverfront. The ground may be a little soft for our rear-heavy front-wheel drive Pelicruiser, but I think we're gonna be alright. As soon as I park it, we're gonna get ready because I have a live stream to do. Is actually quite nice. We have some folks fishing out there, and I'm sure you could drop a kayak or a small boat in this river. It is very relaxing indeed after the big city. A little off level, huh? Coming to you live from somewhere in Missouri. Hello everybody, and happy Friday. Where's my intro here? Here we go. I'm riding. It was a cool and foggy morning at Meramec. Let's go see the caverns. Yes, it is a little soft, but we'll make it. I am glad I got these beefier tires. Beautiful campground, by the way. I'll save it for future reference. It rained a lot the day before yesterday, so everything is still kind of flooded.
Well, good morning. Today we're visiting Meramec Caverns, so let's check it out. It's supposed to be one of those quintessential Route 66 roadside attractions. Not really, it's a little bit of a detour, but you know what I mean.
This was the first cave west of the Mississippi to be explored by Europeans, first visited by a French miner in 1722. Yes, French. We are now in what used to be the French Louisiana Territory, and also the Ozarks. During the 18th century, it was mined for saltpeter, which is used to make gunpowder. And there was even a plant, destroyed by the Confederates during the Civil War. This was also likely and allegedly Jesse James' hideout during the 1870s. In 1933, a more extensive cave system was discovered, and it became a tourist attraction in 1935. And here's a representation of Jesse James' hideout within the cave, although some claim this actually never happened. This is the ballroom, used for square dances back in the day and apparently still used for special events.
This is a pendulum, more specifically a replica of Foucault's free-swinging pendulum. And pendulums are used to measure the rotation of the Earth. As you can see, it's going back and forth now. In about 12 hours, it would be going from side to side. In another 12 hours, it would be going back and forth again. That's actually the Earth rotating out from under it. Now this one is unique for two reasons. Number one, it is the only one underground in a cave. And number two, it is the only one out of the 16 in the world that doesn't actually work. Now that's because this was a high school science fair project from 1956, and the boys who made it made a few mistakes. One of them was that they hung it with a cast iron hook, which rusts very quickly in the damp cave environment. The second mistake they made was with this ball. The balls on pendulums are supposed to be 1,000 pounds and made of solid lead. This one is only 98 pounds and is made of steel. Because it's so light, ours just swings back and forth for an hour or two before it comes to a stop. Once jaw down like this. You can go ahead and follow us.
We did get the rookie guide, but she was pretty good actually. She may have a bright future ahead. Jesse James, perhaps?
Look right over there. Now those formations are called soda straws.
Sometimes it is a little hard to hear in these echoing chambers, but I can always enjoy a good cave. Yeah, apparently an episode of Lassie was filmed here in 1966.
They're actually the only crystals we have in the cave.
I see them there, yeah.
That's fine.
Calcite crystals.
Ooh, these are very nice. Of course, we have to admire them through a plexiglass. I guess they don't trust us to behave and not touch them. This is definitely the pièce de résistance. One of them, anyway. So many stalactites and stalagmites and columns, all reflected on the water here. I believe this is called the Jungle Room, named for the sheer amount of rock formations here. These are quite nice. There, it looks so much better without the dirty plexiglass.
When these soda straw formations start to clog up, and they provide acid is forced on the outside, so it forms a stalactite. As the water drips off the stalactite, if it finds a sturdy place on the ground, it will form a stalagmite.
As I said, it's kind of hard to understand sometimes. I mean, you can make it out, but anyway, there's really nothing they can do about that. Hang some curtains, maybe? So beautiful. And it seems to go on forever. Everywhere you look, there's another beautiful rock formation. Onward we go. Let me tell you, when I first came in, I thought it was gonna be kind of lame. I mean, we've been to so many great caves in our time. But this one is actually near the top when it comes to formations. And we haven't even seen everything yet. And that's when she turned off the light. By the way, there are several levels to this cave, so it is a little bit of an exercise.
That's actually caused by impurities in the soil when the water goes through it. Okay, so orange over here is iron, this white is pure calcite, and this black over here is manganese, also known as black onyx, its name, Onyx Mountain. We also have these subterranean gardens.
This is when she started playing with the lights, which provides a very cool effect. When it comes to caves, it is incredible how much the illumination actually shapes your experience.
We have Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Easter, blue skies, and my personal favorite, Halloween.
Check that out. Wow, look at that.
that is totally amazing. Too bad we're not stopping very long around here. I'm surprised we didn't stop here longer. To me, this is like the second best part of the cave so far. Ooh, I see. They were setting the stage for the light show. Well, that's quite beautiful. As I said, lighting is of paramount importance. Do these look like grapes, maybe? This is considered by some the world's rarest cave formation, called the wine table. It is certainly unique.
If you look on top, you can see 3 stalagmites that kind of look like a wine bottle and 2 wine glasses.
One more look at this singular formation.
That's where the water level was millions of years ago when they were forming.
Very cool, all these grape-like rock formations. I'm impressed. And that is extremely strange now that I look at it more closely. It almost looks like they put it together somehow. I mean, take a look at this thing. Very cool cave. I totally recommend it. It is definitely one of those under the radar and definitely underrated. Moving right along. Ooh, theater. Cool.
So this is our theater room, and we do have a few rules. That only makes sense that we have the oldest stage curtain. This is about 70 feet tall, 50 foot wide, and about 35 feet thick. And it's around 77 million years old. Just sit back and enjoy the show.
We finish off with a patriotic movie projected on the cave wall. Oh wait, it keeps going.
First, this is the last right here. It's about 17 feet long. It's the longest in the cave. And when Lester Bill saw it, he thought it was the most evil and vile thing he'd ever seen. So he named it his mother-in-law's tongue.
That pendulum.
Well, the cave was great, as you saw. Now we're going to backtrack to where we left off, in the outskirts of St. Louis, so we can continue following the Mother Road all the way to Kansas. Our first stop is going to be at the Route 66 State Park Visitor Center.
So here we are, we backtracked all the way here to the visitor center, Route 66 State Park. I do believe we have to get back on the interstate to go to the actual park, but this is the visitor center. They have an old Mustang there, but this is what I'm more interested in seeing right here. This is the old bridge over the route. And I was under the impression you could walk on this bridge, but no. And this seems to be like original concrete from the Mother Road. And here they have the sign to prove it. And this is where you would cross the Meramec River on Route 66. So that's I-44 right there. Yeah, here's some of the history of the area, and there's Times Beach, which is nowadays a ghost town.
not even a ghost town anymore.
From 1932, that was the first vehicular bridge to cross the Meramec River. Meramec, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it.
Here we have a beautifully kept 1967 red Mustang.
Beautiful piece of machinery here. You know, before electronics and computers, this was all mechanical here.
Go back to the highway and get on it, and you come back around this way, and then this is Williams Road. This is the South Outer Road that you take, and then you come into the park this way, and this is not what it looks like today.
No, that's what it used to look like.
That's what it looked like.
Okay.
After the flood, the people already started leaving. A lot of the mobile homes were removed by this time.
There's a lot of information, and he even told us about the Route 66 navigation app. I cannot believe we had not downloaded that. There's also lots of artifacts, memorabilia, as any self-respecting Route 66 museum would.
We've been to a couple of these places, huh?
Of course, you gotta have a neon sign.
Okay.
2 neon signs, both in working condition. Now, how much would you pay?
Yeah, the gentleman at the visitor center owns this Mustang. And he says that he took it on Route 66.
Now let's drive around to the Route 66 State Park, which used to be the location of Times Beach. Now, not even a ghost town. It is completely gone. There it is, on the right, that old defunct bridge. Times Beach used to be a summer resort, but after the Great Depression, it became mostly low-income housing. In the 1970s, the town became contaminated with dioxin, and after the flood of 1982, it was never inhabited again. Eventually, they cleaned the area and built this park that we have here today. I am kind of bummed out. I was looking forward to seeing some ruins or something, but as I said, nothing remains. Let's have lunch.
Looks good. Oh, here we go. Smoked pork chop that we bought at that place in Georgia. Carol's, was it? And yesterday we made picadillo with some regular ground beef, and then we used one of the sausages we bought at the same place. So let's see how it is. Yep.
Very pleasant park with this marshy area next to the river. And at this point, I'm still hoping to find some reminder of the old Times Beach. But, spoiler alert, there's nothing that we could find.
Apparently, nothing remains of the good old town called Times Beach. Anyway, we're gonna continue on the route, which we gotta find the route first. But I got some great information from the gentleman at the visitor center, so I think we're on the right track now.
Let's go towards the entrance to the park to see if there's anything else to see, but let me tell you, it seems to be mainly a recreation area for locals to come and bike, kayak, and enjoy nature in general.
Well, stopped here real quick because here we have another stretch of original. Well, I don't know how original it is, but let's call it old pavement on Route 66. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to drive on it, but yeah, I think this qualifies. We have grass growing on the expansions, on the concrete. So yeah, original Mother Road. Now let's continue because otherwise we're gonna make it to California for the centennial, for real.
Onward we go. The next stop is the Campbell Service Station. It is a representation of a 1950s service station created in a building that used to be a church, actually. Unfortunately, at the time of our visit, it is closed, which is kind of a bummer because it is supposed to have quite the collection of service station items. As As we approach the Ozarks, the terrain becomes increasingly hilly. Here we're going to stop at the Red Cedar Inn Museum and Visitor Center. They have the official Route 66 roadside attraction sign, so it must be legit. We are at a town called Pacific, Missouri, with Pellicruiser. The building was originally the Red Cedar Inn restaurant from 1934, famous for their fried chicken, built with wood logs from the family farm to make it look like a pioneer cabin. Cool mural, by the way.
Let's check it out.
It remained operational as a restaurant until 2005, and today, as I mentioned, it is a museum and visitor center. I guess this is the part that remains from the original restaurant.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the license plate in the front that came with the RV, you know, from the previous owners. I kind of like it actually, but I think this would be far more appropriate for our current trip. We just got it here at the Cedar Inn, so let's install it. I love it. Here it says Illinois to California. It's the centennial at 2026, America's Main Street. Get your kicks on historic from Santa Monica, Chicago. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I think they forgot to put the bottom screws, the previous owners. So we're gonna do the 4 screws just to. Well, maybe there's a reason why. Okay, now we're gonna be cruising in style. I believe there's supposed to be an overlook here on the top of this hill, so let's check it out. I mean, we're starting to get to that area of Missouri with the rolling hills, and there are actually some mountains around here. Well, here we go. It's officially a Route 66 roadside attraction, built in 1939. It would seem there's a little bit of a hike involved, but I could use the exercise. Check it out. It's a Civil War Site 2. The Confederate Army, under the command of Major General Sterling Price, reached this point on October 1st, 1864. I have no idea how long or how high of a hike this is. Whew. Some elevation gain here, but we're right there.
Apparently, this was built as part of a project linking the Missouri Botanical Garden in St. Louis with the Shaw Nature Preserve, at the time called the Arboretum, which I believe it is coming up on our itinerary here. The tower up here opened in 1939, built by the Civilian Conservation Corps.
Video surveillance, huh? Where's the other camera?
Let's check out the view.
Well, that's one big bug. Oh yeah, beautiful views here.
I may be overselling it a little bit. I mean, it is alright. Being at an elevated position certainly helps. We have the Meramec River out there and the rock cliff.
Well, yeah, that was a pretty good view. There are some bugs like this big. They look like little surveillance drones. All right, let's get back to the RV and continue on the Mother Road.
Yeah, this was totally worth a quick stop. Just a quick climb to get the heart pumping and the blood flowing. Check it out, a round barn. We'll see another one soon. And here's another defunct hotel sign. But there's something else we want to see. Here it is. It is called Shaw Nature Preserve, and it comes highly recommended. But once again, I think it is one of those places that requires at least half a day. And if we want to finish the route before the centennial, we may not have time for this. Let's try and park and find out.
Yeah, this Shaw Nature Reserve seems very nice. The folks in there, by the way, super nice guys manning the place, but it would take hours. It's a huge place. Now we know it's there. We'll be back in this area. We'll do it some other time. It's also kind of starting to get uncomfortably hot in the afternoon. The bugs are out, so we're going to a place that seems to be closed, but we're gonna try to check it out anyway.
Also, highly recommended was Purina Farms. Yeah, the pet food makers. Supposedly they have this animal wonderland with all kinds of shows and exhibits. Unfortunately, it is currently closed to the public. Only invited media allowed. Another time perhaps. We seem to be striking out pretty bad here. At least, let's get a closer look at what remains of the Garden Way Motel sign. This is a beautiful area. Rolling hills, lush green vegetation. The abandoned Sunset Motel. The also abandoned Zephyr Gas and Cafe. And if you notice, we're seeing more and more of these non-restored businesses from yesteryear. Unfortunately, this may be a sign of things to come. The farther west we go, the more of these old structures in decay we may find. This is St. Clair, Missouri, population 4,800. And the main thing to do here, well, it is a place to eat. And since we just ate, well, unfortunately, we will not be able to partake. It is called Louis Cafe, and it is supposed to be a local favorite, famous for its pies. And I was thinking of getting something to go, but ultimately...
Well, I was hoping to get something here at Louis Cafe. You know, it's at least a slice of pie. Seems to be a local place, but... and their pie is supposed to be good, but we're not really hungry, so why force it, right? We know it's here. If we're ever in the area, we'll patronize the business. It's another, you know, Route 66 quasi-attraction. We'll continue. We're going kind of sort of towards a town called Cuba. Cuba, Missouri. That's where we'll probably end the day today. No train coming? Let's do it.
We are now back by Meramec Caverns, where we started this morning before we backtracked to where we left off. All kinds of attractions. Maybe next time we'll do the zip line. It seems to be a very touristy area. Here it is, the Jesse James Wax Museum. Google says permanently closed, but let's verify. The Creepy Toy Museum seems to be closed too.
Well, I was on the fence about visiting the Jesse James Wax Museum, but they made the decision for me. It is closed. Sorry, we are closed today. Which is odd that they would close on a Saturday, but I guess not enough business. And here we have the Antique Toy Museum. This one looks like it's been closed for a while. Yeah, this one I heard about somewhere. Anyway, another defunct Route 66 attraction here. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, we're totally paralleling I-44 here. For all we know, I-44 went on top of Route 66, and this pavement we're driving on is just make-believe. But it is the spirit that counts, right? This is Sullivan on Route 66, and they have a mural to prove it. Here, towards the end of town, we have a very peculiar-looking motel, the Shamrock Court, from 1948. According to what I read, it was abandoned, but it looks like it is undergoing renovations, so not all is dire and gloomy when it comes to the route. It has this unique stone facade, and for one, I'm glad it's coming back to life. I wish them the best of luck. Maybe they will get lots of business, lots of guests from all over the world during the centennial celebration on Route 66. The next town is called Bourbon, population 1500, which got its name because of bourbon, of course. As the story goes, railroad workers would drink bourbon from the general store in 1850. They called it the Bourbon Store, and the name stuck. Let's stop real quick and see the Bourbon Saloon, although I don't believe it is a saloon anymore. Here's Via Pizza, and they're open, but we're not hungry yet. Here's the Bourbon Saloon, which actually closed at 2 p.m. What saloon closes at 2 p.m.? Anyway, it is nowadays more of a coffee shop where apparently they have live music and food is supposed to be really good and friendly staff. After they saw me lurking around with the camera outside, the ladies who run the place invited me to come inside, and they insisted we visit sometime. They even offered to let us boondock on the property, but we already have a harvest host for tonight. I guess there's not one but two bourbon water towers, huh? Deja vu. There's a winery along the way called Belmont Vineyards, but it was temporarily closed as of the time of our visit. Another time perhaps. The route is closed, so we're gonna have to take the interstate. And we're back on the route. Here we are, Cuba, Missouri, population 3356. As we are both born in the island of Cuba, it is really cool to be here. We're getting hungry, so our first stop is going to be a place that I couldn't visit when I was here a few years ago because I was towing the trailer, Missouri Hick BBQ. It is supposed to be really famous. Even with Pelicruiser, it might be a challenge to park here. Eventually, I decided to take up 3 spaces and be done with it. Let's check this place out. I've been looking forward to coming here for a long time.
Let's check it out. Missouri Hicks Barbecue on Route 66. Please wait to be seated.
They have several sauces to choose from.
Got the sampler platter.
Well, it was pretty good. Not great, but good. Right after Missouri Hick, we have another famous roadside attraction here, the Wagon Wheel Hotel, Cafe and Station. Built in 1935, it is the oldest continuously operating motel on Route 66. I mean, we gotta stop at least for a minute, right? They've got the old pumps here by the front, and they have a phone number to call when they're closed, but we're not gonna do it. Perhaps someday we should stay here. Make it a hotel night. I mean, it is beautifully preserved, and one of those businesses that against all odds has survived the test of time. They even have an old mechanic shop here and an old rusted out car over a pit. I would definitely like to spend the night here. What a great stop.
But Missouri Hicks barbecue, I mean, it was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Actually, the star of the show is some of the sauces that they have. But yeah, it wasn't the best barbecue I've ever had by any means. But I mean, it's on Route 66. You gotta do it, right?
Cuba is famous for its murals, so we're going to make sure we see some of those. And yes, the town was actually named after the island of Cuba, where coincidentally I was born, as I said. Here's the car service station, nowadays called We're on 66. We must visit once we find parking. And here's an Amelia Earhart mural commemorating her emergency landing here in 1928. I'm gonna park right here so we can see that old gas station.
Don't quite fit on that one, but it is a low traffic street and I'm just gonna be here for a second. I wonder why in Missouri they are blue and not brown.
Very cool. If I didn't have to drive several miles still, I would definitely enjoy an adult beverage and maybe something to eat here.
And we have some murals. But they recommend that I check out this place called the Rock House. So yeah, that's what we're doing next. And then we're gonna see some of the murals and I'm just a Cuban in Cuba.
Actually, first we're gonna check out the old Cuba one-cell jail, built in 1908.
Cuba jail, how appropriate. Yeah, that's it. If you misbehaved, that's where they put you. And here's the interpretive sign.
I'm gonna look for a more centrally located parking spot so that we can see some of these murals. And that looks like a muffler man lying on his back. I have no idea what that is all about. I'm gonna park here for a moment at the Appliance Outlet Superstore. It is wide open, so I doubt anybody will complain.
Well, the town of Cuba is particularly famous for its murals, and here we have one of them. We have several across the street, so let's check them out real quick. And then we haven't got an answer from the Harvest host, but we're gonna show up anyway. See, if not, there's always a Walmart. Does this one count as many of the murals here in Cuba? Here's an old tandem bike and another mural. Jean-Pierre and Auguste Chateau.
And there is Pellicruiser, our trusty home on wheels.
Check it out. Very cool, very, very well made. Now this is the one you take a selfie with. Oh yeah, this is the one you take a selfie with, and we did. Cuba, Missouri. That's like an oversized stamp. And now we're gonna see if we can stay at that winery. Otherwise, we'll see. Now, here we go. One last mural before we go.
There on the right, that would be the world's second largest rocking chair. And we just drove past it. Let's turn around. Let's stop here at the Fanning Outpost General Store for the photo op.
Oh, it is world famous. The world's second largest rocker, according to Google.
It was eventually surpassed by a larger chair in Illinois.
Maybe I should add my sticker, huh?
It is said that it originally used to rock, but they thought it might be dangerous, so it got secured in place. Well, they had to have a mural since we are indeed on Route 66 and the stone throw away from Cuba, the Route 66 Mural City.
Almost missed it. And this is the outpost. Cuba, Missouri. I wonder if they're open. They are indeed closed. Let's continue.
What a lovely detour in order to get to our harvest host. Oh no, gravel road with Pellicruiser. I'm sure we'll survive. I think Google took us on one of those dubious shortcuts to save us 30 seconds maybe. But anyway, here we are, finally arriving at Prairie Barn Winery and Christmas Tree Farm, which is a little bit of a detour, but totally worth it. It is through here.
Check it out, Sunnybrook.
Well, if you didn't know, in the early 2010s, Winnebago bought Sunnybrook, and that was the birth of Winnebago Towables and Minitini. In fact, online I've seen a 1706 FB branded as Sunnybrook.
Alright, let's enjoy some wine back here.
I have a feeling it is going to be a beautiful sunset over the Missouri prairie.
Well, good morning. Another day on Route 66. Today we'll hopefully, we have to make it to Springfield today, or the outskirts of Springfield. And again, if we have to backtrack after, we will. But anyway, another successful Harvest Host stay. Very nice folks. Pretty good wines too. And especially the Norton grape that they have is very good. I have nothing else to say. Let's get on the route.
Such beautiful country with these rolling hills and the lush green vegetation. So far, the Show Me State does not disappoint, and I think we're getting to the best part, the most attractions. That's a cool neon sign on the side of the road. Let's stop by the Mule Trading Post, although according to Google, it is permanently closed. Do you see a pattern here? Well, if you watched the previous video, you know that many places along the route seem to be randomly closed. And this one, indeed, seems to be permanently closed.
Well, Smokers Outlet seems to be thriving. The trading post, the historic trading post, not so much. Which goes to show you don't really have to go all the way to the west to find places like this in ruins. I'm gonna stop for 1 second and take a peek inside. And someone's motorcycle is there. Maybe they're gonna reopen it at some point. Nah, I don't need to take a peek inside. Let's continue.
Rolling into Rolla, Missouri. Our next point of interest is located at the Missouri University of Science and Technology. Sometimes universities have the coolest stuff on campus.
By the way, I'm not certain whether I'm legally parked here or not, but we had to say this, right? We're in Rolla, Missouri, and over the years we've been to several Stonehenges around the country. The one in Alabama comes to mind. The Carthage in Nebraska comes to mind. Well, this one is on Rolla Stonehenge. Let's check it out. Let's read on Rolla Stonehenge, a half-scale partial reconstruction of the final stage of Stonehenge. Here we have a weather station. Of course, we've been to the OG in England, and unlike in that one, in this one you can actually walk in through the stones and yeah, please do not stand on the analema. What's the analema? Let's read. Let's educate ourselves. Cool, so the shadow will indicate noon. Depending on which time of the year, you know, it's the sun will cast its shadow at a different spot. Pretty cool. You see, the original Stonehenge didn't come with interpretive signs or information like this, so this is really cool. All right, we're not gonna go through every single piece of information, but I thought it would be a cool roadside attraction here just to stop for a couple of minutes. Now let's see what else Rolla has to offer. It is Sunday, so some things might be closed.
We've decided to have early lunch at this place called the Tater Patch. It comes highly recommended and it is about to open, so that's where we're going. Beautiful weather today, by the way. Here we are.
Yeah, we do fit most places, huh? Well, the restaurant opens. Let's check out the Rolla Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center. It seems to be closed today, but we have some information. Oh, they have a 2025 guide to Route 66. We'll take this one. Look at the table with the guitar. You got the taters. I got taters too, but because I'm not a tater hater, and that's a huge tenderloin. And by the way, it is supposed to be a sandwich. We made a sandwich with like a tenth of that steak, of that tenderloin. Cool vintage piece of equipment here.
But then when you start looking at the stuff that was like $35.
Well, the tater patch, very nice, great service. I mean, that pork tenderloin, they should have mentioned that it's so huge, so we could have shared it. But on the positive note, we have dinner now.
We continue getting our kicks, and it is obviously not through here. But hey, we get to see these antique cars.
I must say, this stretch of the route here after Rolla, not great. You get that? The top. It goes up and down. But, you know, taking the interstate would be cheating, right?
Let's check this place out.
We're gonna open an RV park here.
This was the site of the historic Vernell's Hotel from the late 1930s, which by the looks of it seems to be closed and in disrepair. Or maybe there is some repair going on, renovation, who knows? They do have a very vintage looking sign. Let's go a little farther down the road. Here we have some cabins in ruins. None other than John's Modern Cabins, originally built in 1931 as Bill and Bess's place. Then John bought it and it became John's Modern Cabins since 1951. But what happened? In the 1960s, I-44 bypassed the property and it's been in disrepair since 1971. Let's get a little closer.
Yeah, it is private property.
Here we have a very faded sign with information indicating some of that. Here we have the old decaying sign. And yeah, no trespassing possible. It is all fenced off. Let's go before we get into trouble. We're gonna have to get back on the interstate for a little bit. This is such beautiful country. Anyway, here we get off the interstate and what do we have here to the left? It's none other than Larry Baggett's Trail of Tears Memorial, which is this folk art installation dedicated to the 1838 Trail of Tears. How about that Pelicruiser, huh? Great turning radius.
Well, as the story goes, in this area, Route 66 went right over the same path as the Trail of Tears. And as you know, Trail of Tears, was when the U.S. Army forced all the Native Americans from the east, the Cherokee, the Seminole, and other tribes, they forcibly relocated them to Oklahoma. So, someone decided to do this memorial, which, by the way, I'm so glad I was able to park right there. There's not a whole lot of parking on this section of the route. Walking trail only, parking next door. Oh, I guess there's a parking somewhere.
Here's a statue dedicated to Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce tribe, who led a different kind of Trail of Tears of his own, in an attempt to avoid relocation.
Chief Joseph, up here, the broken heart.
The artist, Larry Baggett, passed away in 2003 and the installation fell into disrepair for a while, but it is currently being restored. Now, this is a monument dedicated to Geronimo. At least, that's what the lady who owns the property told me. It is very lucky we're here on a Sunday because the installation is only open to the public on weekends. Geronimo wasn't actually part of the Trail of Tears, although his people, the Chiricahua Apache, also faced forced removal from their lands. I wish there was more information about this place. I'd be curious to know what all this means.
There's one more piece we have to see here, and that's white bison, which, by the way, very nice lady who owns the property. She told me everything about all the statues. Here we go.
Let's go back down. Like all the other attractions, this one also has a guest book for you to sign. Alright, let's continue. This very old and poorly maintained section of the route is called Hooker's Cut. At the time of its completion in 1943, the 90-foot deep cut was the largest of its kind in the United States. It bypassed a narrower and windier alignment and an even narrower bridge. There it is. It seems to be one way only. Alright, let's do it. This is the Devil's Elbow Bridge spanning the Big Piney River, built in 1923 on the Ozark Trails Highway. It carried Route 66 traffic from 1926 to 1943. I'm gonna park here and explore on foot.
Well, greetings from Devil's Elbow, Missouri. Let's check out this bridge, it dates back to 1923, so it's, it predates the Mother Road, pretty much.
I wonder what this is.
According to what I read, the bridge sat in disrepair for a long time, and then a couple of years ago, I think it was 2013, they rehabilitated it. I mean, it says low clearance, but it's still 13.8, so I mean, almost any RV will fit through here. I hope it is safe as a pedestrian to walk on it. It is pretty narrow, but I want to see the river. It is a gorgeous area. Look at those greens and a beautiful day here in Missouri. That looks like a very faded Route 66 shield here on the bridge. (1923). That's over 100 years old.
It is so picturesque around here. The Ozarks is an area begging to be discovered and revisited.
All right, let's get on the road again. On the route.
Cool old fire engine here. Anyway, let's get back in Pelicruiser and keep going. We've made it to the famous Uranus Fudge Factory in Uranus, Missouri, which I don't think it is a real town. Everything revolves around the tourist attraction. Let's park and stretch our legs.
Well, we've made it. Hello everybody and greetings from Uranus. There's a bunch of jokes there, but I'm not gonna say any. I'm not gonna do it. Let's just explore this. Can we call it a quirky roadside attraction?
They certainly have a cool sign. Here we have a British double-decker, and what else do we have? We'll soon find out. There's Pelicruiser, by the way. Yeah, it's peculiar. It's great, actually. This is all very cool, but at some point we have to make it to the fudge factory, right?
Oh, check it out. It's the world's largest belt buckle. Now, is it everything you expected it to be? And they have the certificate to prove it. It's a schoolie. It has a map of Route 66, check it out. A little, peeling off, but here we go. We started in Chicago, St. Louis, and now we are in Uranus. We still have a long way to go. Here we go. Here we have an old police car from the 1950s. And the Uranus City Jail. This must be the newspaper.
Uranus Examiner. How appropriate.
I told you there were a bunch of jokes here. I just didn't tell any myself. I'm just showing you.
Ooh, there's a circus.
Oh, here's a better view at Uranus. The sign.
Here we have one of those signs with the distances to all the different points of interest, and we're just getting started here, aren't we?
Yeah, we have a lot to look forward to on the route. Very cool picnic tables here at Uranus.
Here we have the famous fudge factory.
Ooh, check it out, Zoltar.
Let's go into the actual store and see what the big deal is about the fudge from Uranus.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the staff is very enthusiastic.
No, the chocolate pecan, actually.
How much?
Well, we got some fudge from Uranus. Let's get out of here.
Here we have a rocket and the big sign.
Oh yeah.
They have stuff all over the place, like this old pickup truck.
Well, let's face it, this is by definition a tourist trap, but they make it a fun one, you know. They poke all kinds of jokes at the planet of Uranus, of course. Hey buddy, yeah, check it out. Anyway, in hindsight, maybe I should have parked on this side, much more level. There's a muffler man over there that I want to go see. And that's it. We continue. And it's always fun to come see these American giants. I think he might be the mayor of Uranus.
All right, let's continue. I've had enough of Uranus. Let's see what other quirky attractions we can find along the way. Sometimes I feel there is so much to see that we may never make it to California. A better idea for most people, I think, would be to do one state at a time. This cross-country trek we have chosen is starting to look like such a daunting task. Here on the left is a famous diner and we just drove past it, so let's turn around. Here it is, the Route 66 Diner in St. Robert, Missouri. Yeah, we're at a town called St. Robert. I didn't know there was a saint named after me. Or is it the other way around, rather? Yeah, I guess. Very cool diner, by the way, although I believe it may be temporarily closed. Now approaching Waynesville, Missouri. And there is a famous rock here on the right coming up that if you blink, you might miss it. In fact, we did the first time. Luckily, the camera did catch it. Here we are, descending upon downtown Waynesville, and there is a famous courthouse and other attractions. Let's park for a few minutes. Here's the historic courthouse from 1903, where in 1990 a bill was signed designating Route 66 as a historic highway. Coincidentally, we're here on a Sunday, so the museum is naturally closed. And I wish we were hungry, because that's Hopper's Pub.
Well, there was supposed to be a rock with a frog painted on it, but somehow we missed it, so we're gonna backtrack half a mile. And then I don't think there's anything until the next town, so let's get our kicks. Yeah, the courthouse doesn't look anything like the brochure picture.
There it is. It doesn't really look like a frog now, does it? Actually, it looks better from this angle. Now that we saw the frog again, we're going to continue driving past downtown Waynesville. Here we have a mural on the right, and we're about to drive across the Rubidoux Creek over the historic Rubidoux Bridge. Originally built in 1923 and widened in 1939, it is supposed to be best viewed from the park, but we're gonna continue. Here we have a giant bowling pin. I don't know if it is the world's largest, but it is pretty big. Here, coming up, we have the abandoned Gaskozark Cafe. Let's stop for a minute. The service station opened in 1931, although it could be 1932. The sign says 1932 anyway, named after the Gasconade River and the Ozark Mountains. And it grew over the years. In the 1960s, it became a private residence, and now it just sits in ruins right here on the side of the road.
I was tempted to go in there and do some exploring, but maybe not. Alright, our next point of interest is in 16 miles. This is another old motel. So off we go on the mother road. Slowly, but not stopping much. A lot of places are closed today on Sunday, so it is what it is, right?
Our next stop is an old abandoned bridge, the Gasconade Bridge. I don't think you can drive on it, but I want to see it anyway. And we were supposed to exit right here on the left. I guess we're gonna have to turn around at some point. There it is. Let's figure out how to get there. I'm sure some kind of U-turn will be involved. Not a problem with Pelicruiser. Alright, let's do this.
We're parked here once again. It's an unused, dead end here on Route 66, because this is the site of the old, I believe it's called Gasconade Bridge. Unfortunately, it says no trespassing, not trespassing. Well, I guess we can go all the way to the chicken wire fence. It says, injury or death, unstable bridge, stay off, deck may collapse, do not enter. Okay, we will not enter. Check it out. An old abandoned bridge on the route. Do you imagine if it collapses right now? It probably won't. I wonder when they found out that it was no longer safe. Well, we cannot walk on the bridge, but you know what we can do, and I already checked. And we're clear airspace. We can fly the drone.
The Ozarks are such a beautiful area and so green this time of the year. There's our bridge, once again, from this higher perspective. Let's get a little closer, and parental advisory, some of the graffiti may be profane in nature, just so you know. now arriving in Lebanon, Missouri. And what are we going to see here? Well, another old motel. The Munger Moss was one of those Route 66 businesses that had withstood the test of time. Until recently, that was. Google says permanently closed. They certainly have a cool sign.
Well, at this point, I don't know whether we're getting our kicks on Route 66 or we're getting our Uranus kicked on Route 66. Anyway, this is the Munger Moss Hotel. It's been here since forever. Current owners have it since 1971. There's some interpretive signs somewhere. Cool mural there across the street. And the map of Route 66. And the blue dot, I'm assuming, is where we are. We're kind of halfway through Missouri at this point. It was originally built in 1946, purchased, I believe, by Bob and Ramona Leham in 1971, and now I just noticed this sign here that says closed indefinitely. I wonder if they intend to maybe reopen it for the centennial. That would be really cool. Here's a peek inside. Well, let's wander around a little bit. I believe that's the swimming pool, or used to be the swimming pool. And when it was built, it was the first swimming pool in this town. Here we have some Route 66 allegoric signs with distances to different landmarks around the world. And here are distances to other points of interest on the route, and we've visited quite a few of these because we've done some of the, the west, Cadillac Ranch, Midpoint, Odell. We visited a couple miles back. We're only 225 from the Blue Whale of Catoosa. Buckingham Fountain, that's in Chicago. Rainbow Bridge, we haven't seen that yet. It would make sense that this would have been the swimming pool at some point. It got filled.
So sad that it is closed indefinitely.
Cruiser definitely would not fit through there. And here we go. Here we have the old abandoned hotel. Look at all the linens in there. All right, let's see what else there is to see. And we're gonna make an executive decision in about half an hour and just make a beeline for Springfield. And then, like we've done twice already on this trip, we're gonna backtrack.
Here we are, arriving at the Route 66 Museum. It is supposed to be really good, but amazingly enough, it is closed on a Sunday. We're gonna have to start planning and timing these things better. Maybe take Sundays off from the route altogether. That Dowd's Catfish Barbecue is supposed to be very famous and really good. Here's another Route 66 landmark, the Route 66 Antique Mall. We're just skimming through all this because, as I said, everything is closed. It's the world's largest gift store. Although, if I recall, there's a place in Las Vegas that claims to be the largest... Oh wait, that's the largest gift shop, not store. Is there a difference?
Well, here we are at what claims to be the world's largest gift shop. And yeah, this is gonna be one of our last points of interest here today. We're about 45 miles if we wanted to make a beeline from Springfield. Oh, we're tired. And this is the candy factory. Let's check it out. Well, here we go. This is Redmond's Candy Factory. I think I got my sugar allowance already at Uranus, but let's check it out anyway. This one is open until 9 p.m. What to get? What to get? Oh, I fell in the trap, in the sugar chocolate trap. Yeah, I got a big piece of chocolate with almonds. You know, chocolate is my weakness, one of my many weaknesses. Well, what can I say? I'm weak. And when I smelled all that chocolate, by the way, some of the best chocolate I've had in a very long time. These folks are legit here when it comes to the chocolate. Where's the exit? This way. We got 2 more points of interest we're gonna do today.
We continue driving west, but we're gonna have to backtrack a little bit on the interstate in order to see the Conway official Missouri Welcome Center. Here we are, and we do fit in the cars section. While the actual Welcome Center is closed, outside they have all these exhibits and the lobby is open.
Well, here we got the map on the floor. We're here in Conway, and as you can see, we still have a very long way to go. All the way to Santa Monica. And here the picnic shelters, they all have signs from the route. Very cool.
This one even looks like an old gas station. They are really embracing the Route 66 motif here.
Alright. Let's continue.
We're running out of daylight, so we're taking the interstate to our last point of interest today. Such a gorgeous afternoon in Missouri. We're going to make one final stop today here in Marshfield.
Well, here we are, Marshfield, and this is the last point of interest we're gonna see today, but this is one that we saw, if you followed my 2020 series, was it 2020? I believe so. We did a short section of Route 66, and here it is.
Marshfield is the birthplace of astronomer Edwin Hubble, immortalized in 1990 when the Hubble Space Telescope was named after him.
Here we have a, not to scale, replica of the Hubble telescope.
Here we have the commemorative plaque, erected in 1999. Very cool. Incredible that 26 years later it is still orbiting the Earth and sending back images. An even bigger deal at the time was the fact that the Hubble didn't really work properly when launched. The biggest feat was the fact that they were able to repair it in space 4 years later by installing corrective lenses. Let's go all the way around it, see it from every angle, as this is, as I mentioned, our very last stop today. I think this is a fitting end to our day here in Missouri.
Well, that's it, the Hubble telescope. And when I was a younger lad, I remember when they launched the Hubble on the space shuttle, and it was a big deal at the time. All right, now we have a 30-minute drive to Springfield, and thus ending this particular leg of the trip.
We're going to Springfield. We need to do an oil change on Starship, and we're even gonna have a meetup. Springfield, yeah, the birthplace of Route 66. Riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah, I'm riding. I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah. Riding. I'm riding in my RV. Wherever I want to be. Yeah. 'Cause I'm free in my RV. Riding. From Florida to Tennessee. My RV. Wherever I want to be. 'Cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah, riding in my RV. Wherever I want to be. 'Cause I'm free in my RV.
Well, good morning. We started our day here at the local Dodge dealership, Corwin, I believe it is called. Very nice. These are like the nicest people ever, and it's very high tech. Very, I mean, if you need service on your Dodge or Ram or Jeep, you know, Stellantis vehicle in the Springfield, Missouri area, I totally recommend them. Great service. Now we're gonna go to the local Buc-ee's, because yeah, there's a Buc-ee's in town, and then we're gonna backtrack a little bit and do the rest of Route 66. Yeah, it is called Corwin Ram. By the way, they gave us a good bill of health on Peli Cruiser here. Says I shouldn't have any problem, you know, on the road.
Yeah, they took care of our check engine light, and I told them to check everything just in case. We're a long way from home base, and we're going to be, at least with Peli Cruiser, for the foreseeable future. There's a Buc-ee's in town, so we're gonna stop for gas and an early lunch. They are popping up everywhere around the country. And who can say no to reasonably priced gas and a decent brisket sandwich?
$249.9. That's a good deal. Brisket on the board. There's the Peli Cruiser. Well, let's try the Missouri brisket sandwich here. See if it is as good as the other Buc-ee's. It's probably the same, right? Yum. Alright, Buc-ee's was good. The brisket sandwich, very similar to, you know, it seemed a little less sweet and more spicy, but I liked it. And less chopped, you know, bigger pieces of brisket. Anyway, we're gonna backtrack to one town that we skipped yesterday, and then we're gonna start exploring Springfield, the birthplace of Route 66, according to what I've read.
Here we are at a town called Stratford. Let's see what there is to see here.
Well, here we are, decided to backtrack to this town called Stratford, and here's an old gas station. There's not a whole lot to see here. It is believed that the Trail of Tears went through here, and they have like one of those drive-through safaris that we're not really gonna do. But in any case, here's an old gas station. How old do you think these pumps are? Anyway, they say it contains lead, so it's from the lead era. And I think I'm a car. You know, sometimes I believe I'm a car. My butt's sticking out a little bit here. Anyway, we're going back to Springfield, and we're gonna, you know, retrace our steps and try to follow the original Route 66 as much as possible. There's a lot to see in Springfield, so.
Springfield is considered the birthplace of Route 66. It was here where on April 1926 they finally agreed on a number for the new route. 66 being a catchier number than 62. Yeah, that was the other option. And the rest is highway history. Our first stop here is the Rest Haven Court from 1947. The sign, which is from 1953, actually served as inspiration for the Munger Muss, and I can certainly see the resemblance.
Oh, here we have another vintage motel from yesteryear, the Rest Haven Court. By the way, I'm parked in the truck parking, so maybe I shouldn't. I just wanted to show you real quick. Seems to be a working hotel. One of those motor courts. Very cool. Once in a while you have to stop at some of these, right? And there's another one coming soon. Let's keep on going into Springfield, Missouri.
Slowly getting into the heart of the city. I mean, they have Chick-fil-A, Whataburger, the drive-thru coffee, and Freddy's Steak Burgers. What else could you ask for? What's next? I think that's it across the street with the Springfield sign. Well, I made a wrong turn. There's no entrance through here, so let's turn around. This is the Rail Haven Motel from 1938, and they expanded it and upgraded it in the 1950s. Let's see if we can find parking in the back.
Oh, here we go, another vintage Route 66 motel sign, the Rail Haven. And this is a real working Best Western right now. So here we go. Here we go, one of those Burma Shave signs. Here we have the Route 66 Scenic Byway sign. And here we have right here, the birthplace of Route 66. Elvis stayed here in 1956. That's a fun fact that Elvis stayed here. It would be cool too. And you can stay at his suite too. Here we have this historic vehicle parked here with a British telephone booth. Here we have the old pumps. Here we have another old vehicle. This would be an old Ford. All right, let's see what the next point of interest is.
Muffler Man alert! This one is called the Chef Muffler Man. The business seems to be closed and for sale, so I don't know what's gonna happen to it. Coming up next, Steak and Shake, of course. While this is not the oldest one on the route, it is the most popular one because of the vintage decor.
Well, instead of Buc-ee's, we probably should have saved our appetite for this. On the Route 66 since 1962.
It certainly has a cool vintage sign.
This is one of the original Steak and Shakes. So here we go, we have the Route 66 sign to prove it, and this club and the vintage soda machine here. And check it out, all this. Other than that, it is basically a regular Steak and Shake. I forgot to ask her what the other sign means, but that Tak Homasak Maybe that's the name of the owner. Well, apparently that, name that I thought it was something like a proper name, it means take home a sack. And it's just a made-up word for to go. Anyway, let me see how I can get back on the mother road without too much trouble here. Actually, if I make a left here.
In 50 feet, turn left onto East St. Louis Street.
I don't think I'm supposed
Take
to make
the
a
next
left
left
here.
onto East St. Louis Street.
How about if I make 3 rights and then a left? No.
We definitely have to come back here when we're hungry. Here on the right, we have the Route 66 Springfield Visitor Center, so let's stop and check it out.
All right, let's check out the Route 66 Visitor Center here.
Here we have some public art.
Here we have Springfield Visitor Center. Well, here's the timeline of Route 66. Yeah, 1985. That's when it was 84 when it was decommissioned. Yeah, they had the first drive-through restaurant.
It is a very small but pretty neat visitor center with lots of information and some pretty cool artifacts. Before we continue exploring, we need to go pick up an Amazon package, and then we'll come back to this area. Here on the right, this ornate building is the Abu Ben Adem Shrine, nowadays a music venue. We're now in the heart of downtown, and we're going to stop and see all this in more detail a little later. It is all eerily deserted right now, but it is early. Maybe people will come out later, who knows? Now approaching Park Central Square. Here's the History Museum, which I've been told is not to be missed. We're driving on College Street, which happens to be Route 66. This is it. Let me pick up my package.
Right, parallel parked in the street. Walk around Springfield a little bit, which not a very lively town. There's not many people here on the street.
Let's walk a couple of blocks back east towards the shrine. The Abu Ben Adem Shrine was promoted as the largest auditorium west of the Mississippi when it opened in 1923. Even Elvis performed here in 1956. It's built in an arabesque design. I mean, it is truly a remarkable building. Let's take a closer look. And here we have a map of downtown Springfield.
I doubt we're gonna be able to take a peek inside, but let's see. Here used to be a shrine mosque from 1922. And this is the view from the front here.
There's not a whole lot of information online.
Oh, very cool looking building. That shrine back there. Well, here, coincidentally, right next to where we parked Peli Cruiser, we have one of those signs that you would, well, take a selfie with, right? Springfield, Missouri. Well, yeah, greetings from Springfield, Missouri. Right, let's walk a little towards the square. And here we have another one of these statues.
Very similar to the one we saw by the visitor center. Here's the Woodruff Building from 1911, the first skyscraper in the area, and pretty much the only one we've seen downtown. It was owned by John Woodruff, the man who established the Route 66 Association in 1926 and responsible for the Route 66 designation. Hence, the sign here once again calling Springfield the birthplace of the Mother Road. Over here, the Gillois Theater, which opened in 1926 and unfortunately closed in 1980. It fell into disrepair after that, but it has since been meticulously renovated.
I'm gonna jaywalk here because there's absolutely no traffic, so we can get a closer look here. I guess they do have concerts nowadays. Oh, that looks very fancy in there.
Beautiful. I wish they would offer tours. And apparently sometimes they do.
Check out the old box office. It would be cool. It would be cool to see a play or a concert at a historic venue like this, right? Dublin Pass Irish Pub. Do you think they have enough neon signs? Well, more neon signs than customers for sure.
The European Cafe seems to be for sale.
This would be Park Central Square here. The History Museum here seems to be famous.
The museum is supposed to be world class, and they do have a Birth of the Route 66 gallery. And this is pretty much all we are able to see. The museum is closed today. Our luck.
Unfortunately, the museum, they're having some kind of special event today, so they're closed. And they are also closed tomorrow. So I don't know if we're gonna be able to see it. You see, it's one of those things like we're gonna have to come back and do the Mother Road again next year for the 100th anniversary. I'm gonna check out this other block here, and then we're gonna hop in the car and go to the other side. Maybe we should come back later, because maybe all these places are gonna be much livelier later in the day.
Here we have more street art.
Check out this hand here.
Check it out, more art. A dinosaur on a unicycle. Let's see this other sculpture here at the square.
It's called the 1971 Tumbler.
Apparently, the sculpture is supposed to be tumbled every season or every so often, so it's never the same. Something I read they didn't realize until years later. We're going to a brewery, one that is a harvest host, and we're gonna have a meetup there because this is how we do it. The brewery is right on Route 66, by the way, and I think we're supposed to park right here. We already have two neighbors here.
See how off level we are. Actually, according to Level Mate, we're perfect. Well, there we are. Another brewery, another harvest host. There's a Route 66 mural right there.
Here we are, Mother's Brewing.
Follow us for great beer. There we go.
I think this is the back. we have to figure out where the entrance is.
Yeah, we have to go like all the way around the building. Yeah, they really make you walk for your beer. Atomic Mom Imperial IPA.
Well, what can I say? It was a great meetup in Springfield, Missouri, meeting some new viewers and reconnecting with some old ones. Good times were had.
Good morning. We had a great time last night here in Springfield, Missouri at Mother's Brewing. We had a meetup. So great to share stories with you guys, share stories and ales. And well, now we're gonna start. We spent a couple hours working here in the morning, and now we're gonna continue exploring. I mean, Springfield is home to the world's largest fork and the world's largest footbridge, and the fantastic caverns. I mean, so much to see and do. Let's get on our way.
It's another day on the route, but today is going to be, once again, mostly Springfield. In fact, we're going to spend the night at another harvest host here in town. By the way, what a beautiful day in Missouri today. And our next stop is coming up right here. Here we have this Route 66 sign decorated with hubcaps. It is a work of art called, most appropriately, Hubcaps on Route 66. It is part of Springfield's Sculpture Walk. Let's continue. Next up, the birthplace of Route 66 Park.
Here we go, Roadside Park, but let me show you this. It's a mosaic. Get your kicks.
What can I say? Impeccable timing with the lawnmower. But anyway, very cool collection of mosaics here across the street from the park. The giant Hamburg cross is a replica of the sign on the first drive-through restaurant ever. A revolutionary idea in 1947. The restaurant closed in 1984. The mosaic wall keeps going and going. Here on the left, College Street Cafe and the Car Museum. Yeah, let's stop and check it out.
Well, yeah, huge parking lot, but someone always finds a way to park right next to the RV. Anyway, this is the Car Museum here, which is a harvest host. That's where we're probably staying tonight. But let me show you this other roadside attraction here. It's called the College Street Cafe.
You can tell this place has been here for a long time. Apparently since the early 1950s, and it's had several names over the years. The current owner decided to name it after the street it is on, and they've definitely done a great job decorating it in that vintage Route 66 motif. I was tempted to eat here, but I have something else in mind. Anyway, let's check out the Route 66 Car Museum and Gift Shop. They are supposed to have some pretty unique cars here, like this 1971 Gotham Roadster built on a Lincoln chassis, nearly identical to the Batmobile of the 1966 TV series. Here we have a cool looking jukebox, although this one is not that old. It plays CDs, and here's the front of the Batmobile. Oh, that's a beauty. That late 1950s look. Yep, it's a Cadillac. 1929, very cool. I wonder what that is on the steering wheel. A 57 Corvette. A 1956 Thunderbird. Yeah, some of these are real beauties. I don't think that sign is right. This does not look like a 1926 Hudson truck. Well, what do you know? Apparently it was restored as a period racer in 2008 after having been sitting rotten away in storage for 69 years. Here's the garage, where I guess they restore and work on the vehicles. I bet you many of them still run. It keeps going from the Bronze Era to the pre-war and post-war periods to modern times, sports and celebrity vehicles. This is totally worth a stop if you're a car aficionado. Here they have some really rare vehicles, some of them I have never seen before. Take a look at this. I've never seen anything like this before. Now back here in the corner.
Look what we have here. I wonder if it can still reach 88 miles per hour.
I know these DeLoreans were never very successful, and apparently they weren't really great cars. But just because of the fact that it was the time machine in Back to the Future, and they were certainly unique at the time, with the stainless steel construction. Take that, Cybertruck. Now, where's that flux capacitor when you need it? It goes on forever. The museum is definitely larger than it looks. But here's a cool specimen, this 1966 Ford Bronco. What a cool car. And what's up with the seat on the bed of the truck?
Check it out.
I had never seen that before. Here's another cool car, the 1948 Hudson Commodore. And here we have a Cadillac, which happens to be none other than the Ghostbusters car. Very, very cool. Some of these older cars are very interesting too, and probably hard to drive, I imagine. Not as intuitive as the 2 or maybe 3 pedals that we have nowadays. We could be here forever, but I'm just gonna end it with this 1970 Chevy Camaro and go somewhere else.
Well, wasn't that like the greatest museum? I mean, it's a lot bigger than it looks from the outside. I think it's time to get some lunch, actually. We might save the fork for later. Maybe we'll get the fork first. You see what I mean.
Well, this is what happens. Springfield is home to the world's largest fork, or so they claim. But it is a little out of the way, so we're gonna keep on going on the route. There are a couple more points of interest before we leave town. Like the Rockwood Motor Court here on the left, renovated in 2019. It is supposed to be a cool place to stay, with each room themed after a different era, with vintage decor, furniture, and memorabilia. Maybe one of these days. Coming up next is the Rock Fountain Court. This was a very popular design in the early days of motels, freestanding cabins in a semicircle, although eventually that design fell out of fashion, and the actual rock fountain is long gone. We're taking a detour from the route to see yet another quirky roadside attraction. Well, what do you know? It is the world's largest fork.
Well, this is totally random. I don't even know what this place is supposed to be, but according to what I read, this is the world's largest fork, at least by mass. So there you go.
Let's get back on the route, which, by the way, nice suburbs here. And just like that, we're back at Steak and Shake, and this time we're actually going to eat here. I heard they went back to cooking their fries in beef tallow, and I'm looking forward to trying that. Fries and a burger are decent, no complaints here.
Well, I've been meaning to try those tallow fries since they announced it, so yeah, they're good. And we may bottom out in the back here.
Right onto East St. Louis Street, then turn left onto North
Yes, we did.
National Avenue. At the light, turn left onto...
Our next two stops are both kind of out of the way, meaning not exactly on Route 66. But this one is very unique, and the other one, well, we may be saving the best for last. This here is the Commercial Street Historic District, also known as C Street. It was the original downtown of North Springfield. It is nowadays an entertainment district, but that's not why we are here. This is the site of the Jefferson Avenue footbridge, built in 1902. It is believed to be the first bridge of its kind in Missouri and one of the longest railroad pedestrian bridges in the country. It is currently undergoing renovations, but hopefully it will be reopened soon. It would be cool to do something like that. Onward we go to our last stop of the day. Not very lively right now, but very nice area here. We shall return someday, sometime. This is kind of out of the way, but I've been told it is totally worth the detour. I see the sign, so it is through here. We're of course going to the fantastic caverns.
Let me tell you, until I saw the sign, I thought I may have put the wrong address in the GPS. But no, indeed, it's through here.
This cave has a peculiarity because of the fact that you don't get to walk on the cave. They drive you around on a tram pulled by a jeep. Cool! That's what we're about to do. It was discovered by accident in 1862. And here we have some historic displays. It's all very well done, very well maintained.
The original. Well, before juicing was a thing, they already had juicers here.
And our tour begins.
It's chilly.
I think we're gonna get our picture taken here.
Low bridge, guys, low bridge. Thank you, low bridge. Yeah, they're fungus. They require no sunlight. 1930s, the Great Depression going on. Not a lot of jobs, not a lot of money. Owner of the property decided he gonna put some gardens in here. So he grow them button-top mushrooms, take them up to Springfield, sell them at the farmer's market. Do what you gotta do to pay the bills.
Oh, there's another tour.
You're probably gonna have to go up. You want yourself around. Yeah, you're gonna have to go up. I got an orangish brown tint. What mineral is that water picking up? Iron, guys. Iron oxide. Good old calcified rust. I told you how fast this stuff grows, guys. Up here at the next stop, we'll be able to show you. Something was put in the cave in 1941 that wasn't supposed to be here. But it works as a pretty good measuring stick to show us how fast this stuff grows and how it takes a long time for this cave to change shape and take form.
Lo and behold, it's a well.
But the day they drilled this hole, water started dripping down. Near the beginning of stalactites starting to form at about 3/4 of an inch long. Yeah, that's cast iron. That's 6-inch cast. It's black. That's 84, 85 years worth of growth. So if that's 84, 85 that we can date, how old's them curtains in front of us? Hundreds? Thousands?
Thousands?
Yeah, probably several thousand every bit of it. That water's about 50 foot below. We'll go on up the road. We'll take a look at the cave in its natural state. What is the natural state of the cave?
Dark.
That's right. Anybody scared of the dark? If you are, just close your eyes. If you was in here in the 1960s, this is what you would have seen. And you know, compared to a candle, you're seeing a lot. But you come in here a decade or two later and see us, get you a whole new cave in here. Just because science and technology is always moving forward. That's like these cell phones. Nobody had cell phones in here in the 1960s. Yeah.
These, by the way, are just the highlights of the cave tour. There are lots of things that don't really work well on camera, like when he demonstrated what it was like for the first explorers using candles and lanterns. I totally recommend you come and see it in person.
You look down there, guys, and see the little runs of the gas. You can see that water flowing through, emptying out of that spring, that river I talked about. You have to get on your belly and crawl for over an hour back under this bridge to get to an area we call the Paradise Room.
Uh-oh.
You look up that road bed, guys, there's the mushroom farm. You look up through there, that's where we came in at. That's what this cave looks like with no electricity, just a little bit of twilight up there. No light, no electricity in here, not much to see. Just a little bit of that daylight. Get some light, electricity, you can kind of see what's going on down in here. It is going to get kind of low, so everybody just kind of watch your head pulling down through here.
All right.
Watch yourself here, guys. Yeah, watch yourself. Yep, everybody look up here, guys. Look up.
all those straws. Look at that. Oh, it does around.
Watch still, dear, watch still. Watch this edge.
The way they discovered the cave was a dog came in through a small hole while tracking an animal and couldn't find his way out, and then the owner followed him. And that's exactly where it happened. That's the very spot right there. And this is where we're coming out of the fantastic caverns.
Yeah, this is no, yeah. Well, for a second I thought it was Jim in DC, but no, it's not a Porsche. It's an Audi.
We're going back to the car museum, which is a harvest host, and that's where we're going to spend the night. I think we've had enough fun for one day. Tomorrow we're doing the rest of Missouri and most of the barely 13 miles that comprise Kansas. Riding my RV. Riding my RV.
So we've had the air conditioner on for a couple of hours and our battery's down to 66% on Route 66. How appropriate. I'm hoping for a quiet night, although I've heard anecdotally that this could be a sketchy neighborhood. Well, good morning. First impressions, this museum parking lot here in Springfield felt a little sketchy at the beginning, you know, people coming in and out and a lot of people on bicycles, and but to be honest, it was probably the quietest night we've had in an urban setting on the route. Today is very exciting because at some point we're gonna hit a new state, and that is gonna be Kansas. There's not a whole lot, there's not a long distance in Kansas, but there's a lot to do and see. And yeah, the third state on the route. I don't think I can reach with my seatbelt on. The journey continues.
Here's an abandoned building. Let's check it out.
Well, here we are. There is no traffic at all whatsoever on this road, Route 66. And this is technically ghost town, but I see houses, so it's not technically a ghost town. This used to be a store in 1902. And, you know, when I-44 bypassed Route 66, all this, you know, became obsolete. Now we have trees growing inside it. Let me just take a quick peek and we continue.
This used to be the Plano General Store, which used to host meetings, dances, and church services. Very historic, very abandoned. Let me tell you, I am very tempted to go in there and do some exploring.
I am not gonna do it, but still very cool to see here on the side of the road.
All right, let's continue. The road beckons. Now arriving at a village called Halltown. Population, about 100, and in decline. It was at one time known as Little Chicago and the antiques capital of the world. Let's park and do some exploring.
Not much left here at the Halltown Trading Post. Oh well.
It is unclear when all these stores went out of business, but I'm sure the construction of I-44 had something to do with it. We continue driving west on the splendid Missouri prairie. It is a pretty old stretch of road, and here on the right we have our next stop. Guess what? An old gas station.
Here we have the huge shield in the middle of the road to prove where we are. And this is one of the better preserved gas stations here, roadside attraction on Route 66. Gary's Gay Parada in Gay Parada, Missouri.
I said preserved, but in reality, as the sign says, recreated by Gary and Lena Turner in 2006.
Can you imagine driving to the west in an old Ford and stopping here for gas?
This is the site of what used to be a garage from the late 1920s, which burned to the ground in 1955. It used to be called Paris Springs Junction back then. In typical Route 66 roadside attraction fashion, they have all these antique vehicles parked here, evoking a different era, when the route was considered the main street of America.
Well, yeah, they have a small gift shop in there, but I didn't find oh, here we go.
They've got all kinds of relics and memorabilia, an old TV, lots of stuff. Got some tools up here, and the map of the route. Kind of busy if you ask me.
Alright, let's check out this side here. An old police car. And it is really cool to read the guest list, the people who came before you, because most people are from overseas. 6-speed special, huh?
That looks complicated to drive. Here we have, I don't know what this is, but I like the stone facade.
My grandmother had one of these.
Oh, it looks like they have like a restaurant or cafeteria back here. Cool. It is a pretty large property, larger than it looks from outside.
Yeah, I think out of all the roadside attractions we've seen on the route, this one is like one of the coolest as far as, the collection of antiques they've got in there. And I think the owner just woke up. Anyway, we continue on Route 66. We're certainly getting our kicks today.
Now crossing the 1923 Spencer Bridge. Here we are arriving at the Spencer Station from 1925.
Well, here we have yet another roadside attraction. This is the Spencer Station. And by the way, that bridge we just crossed, that's an old bridge back there. Anyway, this used to be a barber shop and a gas station and another one of those stops. You know, it kind of reminds me of the stops on the Alaska Highway, which are kind of, you know, they have a hotel, gas station, shop, restaurant, RV park. So I would imagine at some of these stops, you would do everything, right? Be able to, Spencer Garage, you could even fix your car. Beautiful weather today. It is gonna get hot though. Let's read the description here on the roadside attraction sign.
Yeah, in 1925, one Sidney Casey bought what had become a ghost town and turned it into this. Of course, eventually it got bypassed and went out of business as well.
Feed and seed store here.
This current reconstruction dates back to 2011.
Too bad they're closed.
Look at this old narrow concrete slab we're driving on. Not for the faint of heart. I wouldn't drive a big rig on it.
This stretch here after that second gas station, this is an old section of the road. But now we're gonna join the whatever highway this is. You know, they don't even have like a junction sign. Nada.
Nada.
Our next stop is a little bit of a detour from the route, but I've heard it is totally worth it. We are now on Supplemental Route UU. I always found this lettering system kind of confusing in Missouri, but it is their way. There it is called Hangar Cafe. They have an RV park, and it seems to be a pretty cool place. I don't remember how or when I heard about this, but we're the only ones here. Regardless, we're hungry, so let's have some breakfast.
Hangar Cafe from 1962.
They have a small car museum here, and they do skydiving and give agricultural aviation lessons. Tempted about the skydiving, but today we came for the food. 1962 Studebaker. Very cool. Always cool to see antique vehicles. Let's step inside. This is what it looks like inside. I like the decor. Let's sit here. They got all these airplanes hanging from the ceiling, and it seems to be a former real hangar here. Here's the breakfast menu. We're having some regular coffee, biscuits and gravy.
An omelette with hash browns, tomato, peppers, ham and cheese.
Since I noticed they had an RV park, I asked how much to dump the holding tanks and perhaps get some fresh water, and she said to go ahead and pull into one of the sites. So we're getting a free dump and water with our meal. I always try to avoid dumping right after eating, but I think I'll make an exception in this case.
Well, the Hangar Cafe, very nice, good food. And oh, look at that little airplane they're towing. And let me tell you, Midwestern hospitality, totally a thing. They allowed us to dump our tanks and get a little bit of water. And now we can boondock for one more night. I already have a harvest host. So we're gonna do one more harvest host. In Kansas.
We're arriving in Avella, considered one of the 11 ghost towns of Route 66. While some businesses are still open, most have perished. And the most important building here is probably the post office. Here we have a mural and the post office, originally built as a bank in 1915. We continue on the Mother Road. We're going to refuel at the most appropriately named one-stop Route 66 station. It would seem everybody just slaps a Route 66 sign in front of their store along the route. It seems to be good business. Our next stop is actually quite unique. It is about a mile detour as we approach a town called Carthage. As the story goes, this was created by artist Lowell Davis, who was born and raised about 20 miles north of here at a town called Red Oak. When he returned as an adult, Red Oak had become a ghost town. So what did he do? He bought all the buildings and moved them here, to his family land. Well, this is it.
Well, this is called Red Oak, and it is a recreation of a 1930s town, and we're just in the outskirts of Carthage, and yeah, this is old Route 66, and there's a bunch of points of interest here in Carthage. But first, let's see this.
Well, here's the old Red Oak Town Hall.
Sign for the Red Oak Cafe, and we're just gonna walk around. There seems to be like an old gas station back there, and a church, and these lovely houses. I don't know if you can walk inside any of them. Check it out. It's like the little house on the prairie.
Even though there aren't any no trespassing signs, it is a private community, so we must be mindful of that, but there's no specific information about what you can or cannot do, or where you can go, so we'll just play it by ear. Here's the schoolhouse Davis attended, and the blacksmith shop where he used to hang out as a kid. And we have an interpretive sign, so let's get closer. You may pause to read if you'd like. The Red Oak General Store from 1921 moved here in 1988. Here's more information. Apparently, when Davis passed in 2020, he asked the residents to keep it going as an art community. And it does look like they're doing just that. Interesting.
I don't know if it is me, but today for the first time since we left, since we started on this trip, all of a sudden it smells like the prairie. I don't know if it is psychological. I know we're getting to Kansas, but that is beautiful out here. Beautiful weather too. Yeah, I was wondering how they monetize this place. There's donations.
And we're close to Route 66, so you have to have an old gas station, right? That's like an unwritten rule. Or maybe it is written somewhere. Who knows?
The plumber's nightmare. Yeah. Let's see what they did here.
Yep, that's definitely art. Here's the fire station, and let me tell you, it keeps on going.
Oh, this is the church.
According to what I read, they still have services and concerts sometimes. Finally, the cemetery. Even that was moved here.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether these buildings across the street are part of it, but I'm just gonna go up to the fence here and take a look. Well, I don't know whether this is part of Red Oak or just a separate property, but I mean, beautiful, beautifully maintained. It looks like this may just be someone's farm here. Well, this was very interesting to see, Red Oak 2 here. Let me see if I can just make a U right here. Now we're going to Carthage. There are several points of interest, one of which is the Civil War Museum. That one I don't think we're gonna do, just because in the spirit of brevity, you know, we know it's there. We might visit someday. But if we stop at and do like fully every single point of interest along the route, we're gonna finish in 2030. So yeah, we're just gonna see the courthouse is supposed to be very beautiful, palatial building, and there's a driving theater and a couple more things. Cruiser on the road.
Now arriving in Carthage, Missouri. Here we have another old motor court with the separate individual cabins.
This is another one that has seen better days for sure. Looks like they're rebuilding it.
That one was called Red Rock Apartments from 1927. Here we are at the center of town, at the public square. And this is the historic Jasper County Courthouse from 1894. It is an impressive building, built out of locally quarried stone, and according to what I read, the second most photographed man-made site in Missouri. I would assume the Gateway Arch being the first one on that list. It replaced an earlier building built during the Civil War. It is a pretty good looking downtown. Let's do a double take and find parking. We parked right next to this mural.
Yeah, apparently one of the main points of interest here is this courthouse, which is kind of like a castle. Check it out. I'm gonna tell you something, maybe what I smell different in the air here is not that we're in the prairies, is that it is hot. It is starting to get hot, and or the flying half-mast. I haven't been watching the news, I have no idea. Let's just go around this square here with the courthouse and then continue. As I said, there's a very famous Civil War museum here, but you have to pick your battles. And that one we're gonna skip for some other time.
Apparently they have a Route 66 exhibiting site, but I had no idea at the time.
See, there are thriving businesses around here.
Yeah, not everything is doom and gloom along the route.
It is a bowling alley. Here we have the Carthage City Hall. Yeah, it's got character, right? Like I say, Cruiser on the route. Oh, here's an explanation of what we're seeing in that mural back there.
Let's go see one more thing here in Carthage, and we continue, getting closer and closer to the Kansas state line. It is called Boots Court, another old motel. This one seems to be operational and in really good shape. Let me see where I can park Cruiser for a few minutes. Boots Court, and there's the neon sign. let's step inside what would probably have been the lobby, or a small reception desk rather. From 1939, and it is in the National Registry of Historic Places. And if you want to check in, you have to go to the visitor center next door. Cool zenith. I love seeing all these antique radios, TV sets, and old pictures. Some more radios here, some of them clock radios, because one of the advertising slogans of the hotel was "A radio in every room."
That's a nice stereo.
It's really mono, but
Probably from the late 40s.
very well maintained. Here you would park your car and have access to your room.
Very cool to see, and this one is very well maintained. It almost has that New Mexico, like Pueblo revival architecture, if you will. And I believe it is still in operation. It certainly looks that way. Yeah, they're doing the rooms right now. Here we have the official roadside attraction sign. Built in 1939, and here of course they have the sign where you would take a selfie and prove that you were in Carthage, Missouri. Here we are. Oh, here we have an old, what is it, a Packard? Oh, it's a Ford. An old Ford police car in Carthage. I guess this is the visitor center. Let's check it out real quick. Here's the Boots Court advertisement saying that it's a radio in every room.
We must add a pin.
Very nice visitor center and gift shop. Probably an old gas station, that's what it looks like. Anyway, we must continue driving to the west. Kansas awaits.
We're going to stop real quick to see a historic house. This is the historic Phelps House, a late 19th century Victorian residence. And they have tours by appointment, but we didn't plan accordingly, so we only get to see it from the outside. Well, this was kind of a detour from the route, so let's continue. Here we are at the 66 Drive-In Theater, which dates back to 1949. Let's stop for a little bit.
Dirty Dancing and Grease. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Well, let's see if we can go in or get close and see what it looks like. Well, I see a no trespassing sign, but let's see what the prices are here. There you go. $10, 13 or older. 5 for kids. 16.5 stereophonic FM sound. One of these days we'll watch a movie at one of these, just for nostalgia's sake.
Coming up next here on the right, the Route 66 Heroes Museum, which seems to be closed at the time of our visit here, but I want to see the Freedom Monument they have on the premises here. Here we are. The monument is a tribute to all the men and women who have and are fighting for our country to preserve our freedom. And here we have a mural. Here's another old stretch of road. Next town, Carterville. Who wants some ice cream? Well, here we have a small ice cream parlor called Super Tam on 66.
Well, here we are, another roadside attraction on the route. This one is Super Tam on Route 66, ice cream parlor. Let's not get run over and check it out. We're in Carterville, Missouri. Almost in Kansas, huh? And this one is known for their collection of over 2,500 items celebrating the Man of Steel. Opened in 2006. So yeah, not exactly from the 1940s or 1930s, but you know, the newer attractions are also good, right? Alright.
Well, yeah, that's quite the collection.
Cool.
Very impressive.
There's this one called Exhausted Parent.
Bourbon spiked espresso. Oh yeah.
Huge collection of Superman stuff here. In the nick of time, timing is everything. There's a huge field trip now coming in. I'm gonna share this with Ili.
Now arriving at a town called Webb City. Here we have a mural and a pretty good looking downtown overall. Most of these buildings date back to the late 1800s. Here we have the Route 66 Theater on the right, which we probably should have stopped, but at this point on the trip we realize we're not gonna see everything. Not only because we can't, but at this point we're a little burned out with the route. It's been 2 weeks, but it feels like 2 months, and for you it's probably been even longer. I think in order to fully appreciate the route, at least in these eastern states with so much to see, you have to do it one state at a time. We're definitely doing it wrong, trying to encompass too much. Here we have the Praying Hands Memorial, built in the early 1970s. Going back to Route 66, and here on the left, we have another look at the Route 66 Theater from 1928. Coming up next, our last city in Missouri, and a pretty big one at that. We're going into Joplin. Here we are. We've got some murals, and parking might be a challenge here with Pelicruiser. I don't see 2 adjacent parallel sites. I mean, there's gonna be a surface lot somewhere around here. Yep, this is going to work.
We are at the Joplin Mural Park, and here they have a Route 66 mural.
This mural depicts some of the area's attractions.
Route 66. I mean, we're getting there. We still have a long way to go, but we're getting there. Different vehicle though. Route 66. Centennial, baby, next year.
At the turn of the 20th century, Joplin was a booming town with saloons, brothels, and gambling halls. Joplin was also where famous outlaws Bonnie and Clyde lived and robbed several businesses in 1933. And while there is a museum in town with photos and items they left in their apartment when they fled the town, we're gonna stop by the actual apartment really quick. Here's the interpretive sign and the historic building, which looks suspiciously modern for 1933. What do you guys think? Maybe it's being renovated.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde, no real place to stop here, so we're gonna continue. And we're gonna take a detour from the route.
Well, it turns out that we are very close to the very spot where 3 states converge: Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. and I love these geographical curiosities, so I figured, why not? It is pretty out of the way, but I think it might be worth it.
Well, this was a little bit of a detour, but you know I like these geographical curiosities. And I don't know if it's there or here, but this is the very spot where Missouri, where we've been, Kansas, where we're going, and Missouri, where we've been, Kansas, and Oklahoma meet at one point. The tri-state marker, I think this is it. So maybe that's it. It would be cool if I could stand in 3 states at the same time, right? Let's see what this says. Here we go. You're supposed to do it from here. Boundary marker. Here we go. Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. And we are now standing in 3 states at the same time, more or less. The point was established in 1857. So yeah, standing in 3 states at the same time. That's pretty cool. Other than that, I mean, there's nothing to the place, just that marker and this other monument here. Lots of graffiti on the monument. But here it is. Let's face it, that was a little bit anticlimactic, but I'm still glad we drove the extra 10 minutes to get here.
We've got one more thing in Missouri, and after so many historic buildings and gas stations, how about some nature? And it turns out they have some great waterfalls here close by. It is called Grand Falls. This is it. Let's find parking. Oh, right here.
Well, this has nothing to do with Route 66, but this is supposed to be the largest continuously flowing natural waterfall in the whole state of Missouri, the Show Me State. Let's check it out.
There are not too many people, and I'm kind of tempted to dip my feet in the water, although it is probably cold. I am glad we're ending our time here in Missouri with some nature, because I have a feeling the farther west we go, the more natural beauty we're going to see. In fact, I'm certain of it.
Well, not the tallest waterfalls we've ever seen, but very nice. And you know, I needed a break from Route 66, see something natural like this. I'm very tempted to put on my bathing suit, but I'm not gonna do it. But I think today is the first truly hot day we've had in a while. So summer is coming quickly here in the Midwest. And it's gonna get hotter. It's only gonna get hotter, so.
So we continue. We've completed now 2 states on Route 66. 2 down, 6 to go. On the next one, we're doing Kansas, the whole 13 miles of it, but packed with points of interest. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the road.